the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew. And we'll be going to chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7. When you get to that place, we will be beginning at verse 24. So Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Matthew, New Testament, I promise I'm telling you the truth. Chapter 7 comes after 6 and right before 8. Verse 24, right after 23 and before verse 25. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the wind blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Verse 28, when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he taught us as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law. May the Lord have a blessing to the readers and the doers of his word. You may be seated. As a custom here at New Life, if you would raise your Bible, whether it's leather bound, paper bound, hard bound, electronic, whatever it is. I am, because it says I am. I can, because it says I can. I will, because it says I will. Thanks be to God that I have new life. Let's go to work. So, I giggled often while preparing this message. I know that sounds a little odd, but I giggled often because as I was going through it and writing it, I first off asked God to change it, because I was like, nah, I'm good. Let's do something else. But what he told me is that we need to be reminded that we need to learn how to follow instructions once again. So the title of today's message is, just follow the instructions. Just follow the instructions. This passage of scripture reminded me of a fairy tale or a story, a nursery rhyme that I heard as a child and recited often. The title of that nursery rhyme and story was The Three Little Pigs. So we're gonna go down memory lane a little bit. I think my little cousin knows it because I said Three Little Pigs. He's like, yeah, I know that one. Thank you, Gavin. You're helping me out already. So help me go down memory lane. If you remember anything from the story as I'm reciting it, I need you to help me out. Can you do that? Yeah. All right. So in the story, there was the mother. There was little pig number 1, little pig number 2, little pig number 3. Then there were these random people on the side of the road that gave the pigs materials. And then they had a nemesis. They had an enemy. Who was their enemy? The wolf. The big bad wolf. Right, all right. So now that we're on the same page and we have all the characters, here we go. So once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs who lived with their mother. One day their mother told them they were old enough to go out into the world. So basically she kicked them out, said, you 18, get out of my house. But then she warned them and said, hey, listen, when you go, watch out. There's a big bad wolf that wants to eat you. Like, I'm telling you now, he wants to eat you. So when you go out, I need you to build a house, but build it strong enough so that this big bad wolf can't get in. But get out my house, but be prepared. That's what she said. So then she said, okay, goodbye my sons, and good luck. So the 3 little pigs then went their separate ways. They separated. They were grown. They said, kind of forget what mama said, I'm going to do me. All right, so they were gone. The first little pig saw a man stacking some straw. This little pig asked the man, may I have some of that straw to build a house? The man agreed and said, all right, here you go. But that little pig built this house, and as you can imagine, unless he had bales of straw, those big rectangle things bound in something, that straw wasn't nothing. But he built his house with this straw. So one day the big bad wolf came, knocked on the first little pig's door. Little pig, let me come in. Little pig answered, no, I won't let you come in here. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. The wolf said, well then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. So he huffed and he puffed and he blew the house in. Then he had some bacon because the pig got eaten up. Second little pig was going down the road when he met a man stacking a pile of sticks. The second little pig said to the man, may I have some of those sticks to build myself a house? As you can imagine, the man said, all right, cool, here's some sticks, go build your house. The little pig went to go build his house out of sticks. And if you know sticks well, let me say this, if you know what a switch is, you know you need a lot of switches in order to cover up the spaces. So of course, this little pig built his house out of sticks, but it still wasn't that sturdy. So one day the big bad wolf knocked on his door and said, little pig, let me come in. That pig said, no, not by the hair of my chin. The big bad wolf said, well then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll puff, and I'll huff, and I'll blow your house in. Well, big bad wolf huffed and puffed and puffed and huffed, and he had more bacon. But then there was another day. The third little pig was walking down the road. He saw a man with some bricks. This little pig said, excuse me, sir, can I have just enough bricks to build myself a house? Of course, the man said, sure, take these bricks. So this little pig took these bricks and built himself a house. He was cool, he was at home, and of course, Big Bad Wolf decided to pay him a visit. Little pig, let me come in. Little pig, no, not by the hair of my chin. Well, the Big Bad Wolf huffed and puffed and puffed and huffed and huffed and puffed in an attempt to blow the house in. He huffed and puffed again and puffed and huffed and attempted once again to blow the house in. He couldn't blow the house in. So he became angry. He became distraught and said, no, I'm gonna get what I came for. So he tried to then trick the little pig. He said, well, guess what? There's a field that has everything you need. Little pig said, well, where is this field? And he told him. He said, I'll meet you back here at 10 a.m. to go to the field. Well, because this little pig realized that his protection had already protected him, he said, I need to do something else to keep myself from getting eaten. So instead of going at 10 a.m. to meet with the wolf, he went at 9, and by the time the wolf got there, the pig was already back. Why is that important? That's because this third little pig recognized who the enemy was and that he meant him no good. So at this point, I would venture to say the big bad wolf lost. The big bad wolf lost because he was up against a force that had nothing to do with him. The force had already won long before he arrived. The third little pig was the one that listened to the instruction of their mother. Build on a solid foundation, build with solid structure, build with what you knew will withstand the elements. When we follow the commands that are set forth by Christ, we learn how to build systematically. We learn the best ways to construct the happenings of our daily lives. We listen. and the struggles don't seem to be as horrible.
Amen.
When we're listening to instruction. Yes, we're going to go through them. I'm sorry to tell you. Everything's not going to be great. I'm sorry to tell you. But when you understand that the struggle is for your purpose, that you'll be all right. Build on a solid foundation, follow the instructions. I want to also tell you guys about this story in the Bible using a different version. The Message version is going to bring it all the way home, I promise. The words I speak to you are not incidental additions to your life, whole or improvements to your standard of living. They are foundational words to build a life on. If you work these words into your life, you are like a smart carpenter who built his house on solid rock. Rain poured, the river flooded, a tornado hit, but nothing moved that house. It was fixed to the rock. But if you just use my words in Bible studies and don't work them into your life, you are like a stupid carpenter who built his house on the sandy beach. When a storm rolled in and the waves came up, it collapsed like a house of cards. Why do we become so surprised when things don't turn out the way we decided they should go? What does it take in order for us to build on sturdy foundations? God gave us the words, but is it that we don't understand the step-by-step directions? Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you how to build a house. I'm going to tell you how to build a sturdy house. You need to survey the site. If it's a really rocky foundation, that might not be the place. If it's a place with a bunch of mud, that might not be the place. So find a place that's, smooth, a place that you can make smooth. Now it's time to build on this smooth foundation. God told us to build on a rock. Now I'm going to tell you, just because I'm pretty sure I know the Lord just a little bit, He's not telling you to go get a boulder and put your house on top of an actual rock. I just have to say it because some people are like, wait, Jesus said, hold on, y'all. He's not about to make us fall off the side of a rock, I promise. The rock that He's telling us to build upon, I venture to say, is Jesus Christ. So if that's our solid foundation, it's time to build your structure. You need framing. You need framing. One thing that we've learned in Bible study, because it comes straight from the Word, is that Jesus is our cornerstone. So in your foundation, you need a cornerstone to hold up your walls. So you build your foundation. Then you install your windows and your doors and all of this stuff because you need some type of protection, right? Your roofing, your siding, the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC system, the insulation, drywall, you need to paint because you don't want it to look crazy. And then you have all the other little intricate details of this house. But if you didn't realize, you couldn't put all the extra stuff in there until your foundation was set. And your structure was in place. What's your foundation? What rock have you set on? What are you using to build your structure? Or should I ask, who are you using to build your structure? The Bible tells us don't be a fool and build on sand. If you need to think about it as quicksand. We step into situations with people. We walk into places thinking we're all good. I got it together. I can handle myself. Nobody can tell me anything. I heard God, but I'm going to do this myself. And so we walk into that structure. We're devastated when it crashes to the ground. But who was your foundation? Who was your structure? None of the beautification matters if you don't listen to the basic instructions and directions on how to build all of these things properly. in life that we continue to do this, even when we know we shouldn't. But we do it because the easy feels good. The hard, keep it. I don't want to see the outcome of that. That house is already built. I'm moving in. I don't want to have to make all the decisions. I don't want to have to decide what granite top goes in my kitchen. I don't want to have to decide what color carpet I want. I want to ready to move in. Spiritual place of habitation. I'm not ready to make decisions on my own. Mind you this, the enemy that's putting these thoughts in your head is superficial. He's appearing to be true or real only until examined closely. He doesn't know where you're going until you tell him. So if you tell him, enemy, why are you trying to make me go and get a car when I can't afford it? I'm going to tell you this. He didn't know you were trying to get a car until you just told him, so now he's going to try to block you even more. So granted, he needs permission to do that, but he didn't know. He's like the big bad wolf that has to knock on the door. And then he huffs and puffs, and depending on how firm your structure is, depends on if he gets in and gets some bacon now. Did you follow the instructions on building your foundation? The first little pig, if he would have built his house in a bale, he might have been all right. I'm sure not many people can just blow over that much straw. But did he listen to the instructions on building a strong foundation? The second little pig, although his sticks were a little bit thicker, I feel like he just made a puzzle out of it. And unless you have a puzzle that completely connects together, you have some space. You have openings that's going to allow something else to intrude. It would take a whole lot of sticks to plug those openings. But the big bad wolf got in and had some more bacon that day. But as we should, the third little pig heard his mother. He wasn't just listening. He heard his mother. He heard when she said, build a strong house. He heard when she said, the big bad wolf is coming for you. He heard the instructions of what he was supposed to do. Do we hear God when he says, don't build on sand? Do we hear God when he's essentially trying to tell us, pay attention to your surroundings? Do we hear God when he's saying, I've given you the rock, I've given you the solid foundation, I've told you how to build this house? Do we hear him, or are we just listening to say, I heard you, but I can't take this on? Who do you hear? Whose instructions are you following? God wants us to realize and remember that the words spoken through Christ and to us today aren't just for kicks and giggles. They aren't for us to say, oh, that's cute. Our foundation has been set, but we spend so much time building our lives with easily destructible stuff that we put ourselves in danger. We've been trying to rebuild our own lives instead of realizing that everything we need right there has been set. Everything we need to be great and be what we need is already inside of us. But the hardest part, I will even say this, is trying to learn to activate it. We don't want to activate it and feel the pressures. We don't want to feel the thorn in our sides. If you're not activating all the tools necessary to build this house, your foundation is there. Now build. You don't have to build without the instructions like we often try to do when we put together bed and beams and different furniture. We think we know what we're doing until we lose the screw. And we can't find the piece because it's all the way still in the box. Then we finally pull out the instructions 3 hours later when we're exhausted and leave it. We don't have to do that, guys. Everything you need is here. He told us where to build. He told us how to build. So why are we guessing? Use God to battle the elements. We have our solid foundation. We have our framework. We have our cornerstone. We have everything we need. The elements are going to come. If this is Colorado, it could start snowing right now. The elements will come. But based on how you build, they won't affect you unless you go out to them. Use God to battle those. During this, I tried to compare myself to Job. When God gave permission to the devil to mess with him, right? That ain't me. I'm not that strong yet. So, what I know is that I'm still building. I had to demolish the house that I built because I sunk all the way. I had to completely tear down the walls, knock out everything, and start from ground zero. Because he told me to build on a solid foundation, so I said, okay, I'll finally listen. Oh, but then I really heard you. So after my demolition took place, I cleared out the space. I had to send people away. I realized my frame was there. I just had to bring it into the space. I had to put things together with the binding of Christ that no man can separate. It took time, it took time, it took time because I'm not that strong myself. But my foundation was set. My frame was in place. So now I can start adding things. I can start opening my eyes and saying, okay, they're good for me. Thank you, God. I know I can go there. Thank you, God. I know I can smile again. Thank you, God. I know that my rainbow is your promise. Thank you, God. I can add all the beautiful things inside because I finally learned to follow his instruction. I finally learned what building with his tools did for me. I finally learned that I'm not that great, but with him, I'm all right. I'm going to be all right. Follow the words, follow the instruction, follow the life outline that we've been given. There's a song that even at my age I love, and it's not a new song at all. But it gives me everything I need when I have to learn about where I need to build. If you know it, I need you to help me. I'm not going to sing it, I'm just going to say it. But I need you to help me. Y'all got me? My hope is built.